Thank you very much, Claude, for the introduction. Dear graduates, esteemed faculty, distinguished guests, you stand today, mainly the graduates, at a crossroads. All options are open to you. You can step into a family business, into finance. You can join an international organization like Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, who leads the World Health Organization, as we just heard. Or you can dedicate your life to an NGO like my friend Claude, who led the World Wildlife Fund as CEO. Each path offers its own way to make an impact. And I want to stress, I think we heard it before, it's so important. Think about what impact can you do in whatever you do. You're graduating, and we heard it just before, into a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. Technology transforms overnight. Climate patterns shift unpredictably. Economic models that worked in the past suddenly don't work anymore. Social structures that seemed permanent are being rewritten. When I received my doctoral degree 25 years ago exactly, the cloud was just in the sky, and going viral meant you had the flu. The world has transformed a lot, and your generation, I really believe, you're built for complexity, and we do live in a very complex world. Whatever your path that you will choose from this crossroad is the right one. Think about that. You have the tools, you have the awareness, and most importantly, the opportunity to build something fundamentally different. But regardless of what you will choose, I'd like to share with you something that I've learned in my career that I really think will determine your success, and it means what's the depth at which you operate. I'd like to use the iceberg as a symbol, and I'd like to also share with you kind of my path along the iceberg. If we look at the iceberg today, we only see what is on top, above the water. And when we talk about sustainability, we usually only also see the top. We see the solar panels on the roof. We see electric cars on the street, or green claims in annual reports. We remove plastic from the shores at the sea without addressing the root cause of the problem. But sustainability, the kind of transformation that we need, sometimes is invisible, but it is fundamental. As someone who has spent the last 25 years in sustainability, I want to share you kind of the leverages of transformation that I see according to the iceberg, and also why you as the next generation, in my belief, are the architects for it. In my journey, I started by changing structures when I started as an environmental economist at the Federal Office of Environment in Switzerland, because I thought we need to change the regulatory framework first, right? The regulatory framework has to be the same for everyone. So I really believed, and I still believe, one of the solutions would be the internalization of external costs. But while working for the Federal Office of Environment, I also realized it takes a lot of time until you can change a system. I also became politically active by joining a movement called Born on December 1992, when actually Switzerland declined to join the European Economic Area. And as young people just graduating, we really wanted to change that. We went onto the streets and we demonstrated and we said, we really want to join the European Economic Area because we felt that's important for a small country like Switzerland to join another bigger community as well. But during my years in Bern, I also learned something crucial. As I just mentioned, it takes time to change systems. Sometimes too much time, or for me, too much time. I sat in meetings and we went over words and changed words. And I looked out the window and I saw the glaciers just melting next door. And then I felt like, well, if I stay here, then we will be kind of looking at these sentences underwater. So that's why I changed. The realization drove me deeper, and I said, I want to move to industry. And I wanted to move faster. So I first decided to write a PhD on environmental communication in multinational companies. My research uncovered a powerful sequence of driving systemic change. Clearly, if you look at it from a business perspective, you need to transparently report about your impact, and you need to report to build trust. But then you need to engage. You need to engage with different stakeholders along your value chain. You need to collaborate, because we can't address all the challenges that we are facing today alone as an individual, as one company only. But we need this collaboration. And only once you have done that, you can then also start thinking about how can we change mindsets. And I think this is really important. How can we change behavior? Armed with this knowledge, I moved into industry, and I worked for 13 years for Holcim, a big multinational company manufacturing building materials, but also having a huge impact on climate change, being aware that about 5% of the building materials industry is responsible for climate change and CO2 emissions. I really understand, while working in the business community, be it for Holcim or also the World Business Council for Sustainable Development just next door, we can only change the system if there is a business case. And I think that's really crucial. Let me tell you let me tell this to you on one example. The circular economy for the cement industry, at the beginning when we talked about it, our leaders, they just thought about the cement mixes going round and round. But once we showed them that you can use waste as a resource really for the cement building production, then suddenly everyone realized, this is interesting. There is a business case behind it. We can make money out of it. And it became a strategic advantage. So this led to pioneering also circular business models, showing that sustainability and profit can align. But business model change isn't enough. Even when you start introducing new business models, you have to make sure the whole company comes along, and not that they suddenly think something is changing. So the real transformation requires also shifting mindsets and preparing leaders to embrace change. This means long-term thinking over short-term focus, setting 2050 goals instead of just focusing on 2025 budgets. It means also system thinking, understanding the interdependencies instead of just isolated solutions. Stakeholder orientations, as I just mentioned before, but also regenerative thinking, and it means moving from doing less harm to actually restoring and renewing. This understanding also led me to create engageability, and also later to initiate Innovate for Nature, which is an accelerator for nature-positive solutions. And also ESG for boards, because I believe we need to tackle sustainability, regenerative topics also at the board level. I think what is important, and I think this is something I'd like to give you on your way, think about, why are you here? What's your transformative purpose? What do you want to achieve in life? What do you want to achieve going beyond from here? We clearly see, and the planetary boundaries show us, that we need to respect Earth as a finite system. We really need to recognize this interconnectedness. Everything is connected. And I think Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus just said it. Also, social justice is crucial. Sustainability without inclusion isn't sustainable. And we need intergenerational responsibilities, decisions for the next 7 generations. As the executive director of Innovate for Nature, I'm really encouraged about all the solutions that are out there. We initiated the foundation one and a half years ago, and we received last year and this year 400 innovative solutions in the nature space. We're talking about things, there are solutions also coming from Ethiopia, solutions from Brazil, but also from Switzerland or from Spain. And they are really highlighting solutions to transform whole business models, to transform business, also value chains. And I think what is really interesting, I see this bottom-up movement coming from all countries where we see we need to change something. It can be just a small, but it can have really a big impact. So you leave this institution today with a unique opportunity. You can lay the foundation from the very beginning for a regenerative future. This isn't just about technology. It's about mindset, values, and the way we think and act. As future leaders, I encourage you to go deep and always ask why and what lies beneath. Think long-term, read, and really think about real change comes with culture, not just technology. And I think it's important to transform patiently. I want just to take one step further, and Claude before mentioned André Hoffmann and his new book, The New Nature of Business. André is also the president of Innovate for Nature, and together we really want to go forward and say we're not just talking about sustainability, but about regeneration. In today's world, it's no longer enough to do less harm. We need systems that are resilient, adaptive, and aligned with people and planet. So really think about how can business become a driver of systemic change? How can profit serve long-term well-being, not just short-term goals? And how can we strengthen the capacity of communities and ecosystems and also learn from them? I think it's really important. Think about this. Currently, indigenous communities make up about 5% of our world, but they are actually conserving more than 80% of our nature. So we really need to learn from them. We need to value this indigenous wisdom and really collaborate and learn again. What can we do? How can we really be in line with nature? So dear graduates, I don't want to take much more time, but I really think you are not just inheritors of a climate or a poly-crisis. You are the architects of a new era, an area where regeneration is not a luxury, but in my view, a necessity. So with that, I really want to close. I want to congratulate you and really wish you all the best. And I hope I will see some of you in a regenerative future. Thank you very much.